And they're paying pretty well. So, Anthropic will pay up to like $35,000 for a universal transferable jailbreak. OpenAI will now pay the same, but
What?
what?
I'm sorry, say that again? 35,000 for what?
A transferable jailbreak. So if you put in like any question and it will answer them, they'll pay $35,000.
Best part of hacking when you can just, critical thing, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
This week in Bug Bounty, there are two major topics. One was from Yes We Hack. They're doing a new series called Vulnerability Vectors. And the first one is SQL injection. So they're going to basically show you how to go from zero to hero to learn SQL injection for bug bounty hunters. Should be really cool. So go check that out. The last thing that I had is also a part of This Week in Bug Bounty from HackerOne. It is a Mozilla VPN Client RCE. The vulnerability is actually a path traversal, but because the path traversal allows you to overwrite startup script files, it becomes RCE. The Mac client is not vulnerable. It's only the Windows one. It's a really great write-up. It's a high. It paid $6,000. Go check that out at the link in the description. And now we're back to the show. Thanks, guys.
All right, dude, I've actually got a pretty cool thing to start off this episode with, okay?
Yeah.
So I messaged you the other day about hacking with these like assistants, right? Like what is the best way for me to do AI assisted source code review?
Yep.
And the reason I messaged you about that because I got a spot check from HackerOne for this specific program that had an SDK that it wanted us to like take a poke at. And I was like, okay, I definitely can't just do this the old fashioned way here. So
read this line
so
by
what
line.
you told me, yeah. Well, why don't you give a quick summary to listeners about what you told me I should do, and then I'll tell you what I actually did and how it worked out.
I don't remember this distinctly, but I assume I told you to use Claude Code, boot it up,
Yeah.
ask it to like ingest it all line by line, create a whole profile, which by the way, I did that for, I'm wearing my Kaido shirt today. I did that for Emil with the back end of Kaido. Like, hey, if you like, cause basically he's found AI completely lacking in his ability to help him like, develop.
Yeah.
I was like, I guarantee you I can make it at least usable and like pretty good for you. So I did the same thing. Probably I recommended to you. I basically handed it the code and was like, hey, read over this, create a full structure of like how it works, why it works, which pieces are interconnected, what's like a good coding guideline based on like this code, not just good Rust code in general, kind of merge those. And here's how you can find more information about what Kaido is and how it works and all those things. And so anyways, that's what I would have told you to do.
Yeah, that's what you told me to do. I don't know why you don't remember this message, but I was like, okay, great. It's probably because I didn't respond to it. I just went ahead and did the thing. I was like, yes, perfect. That's exactly what I need. And then I went and did the thing.
Yeah.
And I was going to grab Claude Code like you recommended.
Yep.
But then I was like, I don't have a Claude Code. Like, I don't have like a Claude
Max subscription
active
yeah.
right now. Yeah. And I was like, wonder what alternatives there are. And I looked into it and, Gemini has a CLI client that came up recently. And so I grabbed that.
When I used it when they launched, it was terrible. It literally got API errors. It would just down all the time. And I haven't even went back to it because it was so bad. So I'm curious what your experience is now that it's been improved, hopefully.
It has been improved.
Yeah.
To some degree. I have seen some videos per your recommendation of Claude Code. And it seems like Claude Code is a far, more refined product,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I still opted to use Gemini because of obviously the one reason that we all use Gemini, which is the freaking massive context window.
Yeah.
And it actually has worked pretty well. So what I've got now is I've got like a Gemini.md file set up, and I've got like so actually I did it with a Gemini.md file for the specific thing that I'm talking about. But now I've got like custom commands and extensions built into Gemini CLI that will like perform the initial code base analysis, right? Which is essentially doing exactly what you said, going through each file, notating what, I had a couple sections. I do like, what is the business function of this file? What are the primary functions in this, specific file or class or whatever? What are the security boundaries? Like what is the security related functionality in this specific file?
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
And then summarize all that. And then have it go back and make a summary of all the summaries and pull it all together into like this code architecture file that describes not only like the functionality and the flow of data throughout the application, but also like the overall security architecture. Like, what are the core security components? Well, the security for this specific app, hinges on this one function. That's the function that I want to know about, like right away, right?
Right.
So I've got it sort of outputting that, and I think it didn't do amazing. Like it did pretty good, right? Like it identified a lot of the I guess the core components that are necessary, and some of the attack vectors, and also I had it notate like threat model and like why, where people would be attacking from, sort of like what the attacker would have to have in a specific situation to attack.
Was it using Pro the whole time?
Yeah, it was using, well, I had it use Flash for a little while, and then I had it switch back to Pro, and I think it's quite good with Pro. I mean, it did a thorough analysis. It just didn't lead me right to the vulnerability, right?
Right.
But it did call out the section of the app that had the vulnerability in it. So I was like, it was like, definitely this is one area that you're going to want to focus on if you're doing a security assessment. And lo and behold, I went there and looked at that, and I found a vulnerability. So this
awesome.
target that I was working on was like pretty high. Is a very reputable company that has this, SDK that they released, and it took me less than 6 hours to find like a high crit impact vulnerability in this SDK.
I mean, that's legit. That's awesome.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it spun up POCs for me so quickly and stuff like that, where I could just quickly validate. Frick, dude, it's amazing. So thank you for that recommendation. And I'm sure you've got a similar workflow with Claude Code in place, or is it as built out as that, or what?
Yeah, I'm actually really curious now that you've mentioned that you have like little extensions and stuff. I talk a lot with Daniel Miesler about this exact stuff. I think that Claude Code and Gemini CLI, like, honestly, it's just like an agentic wrapping, where you can like expose it to different things, can be used for so many different jobs and industries and stuff. But for hackers specifically, I think it can be super beneficial because, one, a lot of what we're doing is like, let me go get this data from this data source, like whether it's subdomains or, whether it's kicking off a scan on a virtual server or whether it's whatever, you go and grabbing a word list or generating a word list. And then a lot of times it's doing other things like deobfuscating JavaScript, right? Which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, a tool that can do that. And then it's like synthesizing, like you said, where's the risk? And then it's very often, I think the most beneficial thing is just spinning up scripts. And so, yeah, like you said, with Claude Code, I very frequently will have it like, I'll just give it an HTTP request from Kaido and say, hey, I'm trying to test this for these things, go spin up some scripts that go do it for me. And so it just, it does it, right? It can spin up a bunch of scripts. It can do automation. It can write for loops and stuff. And so it's kind of able to automate just like a deeper level. It's almost like if you gave Turbo Intruder, like if you gave AI access to like Turbo Intruder, like what could it do? It could do a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, dude. I think so you hit the nail on the head there with like spinning up scripts being like, one of the primary things that these things will help, especially if you're doing like a code review of an SDK or something. Super, super helpful. But the other thing that I came to appreciate this time was just how fast it allowed me to ingest the security controls in a specific repo, right? Like, it can go through, assess the whole thing and be like, here's the security controls. And then for me as a hacker, it just, like, I think that's just how I think about code a little bit, right? Is like sort of surrounding these security controls. And so it just helps me feel like I have a much more comprehensive understanding of who might be attacking from what perspective in the repo. And maybe like the whole threat model of the code base. By just saying, hey, here's a security control, and then sort of reverse engineering from those security controls, saying, okay, well, why is the security control in place? Well, it's so this person doesn't do this. Right. And now I've got, your motivated actor and your, target goal, right, sort of built out already.
It's like having a single interface for access to the data you need, which is like, what are like the sources and sinks and the security controls, and also an ideation partner. And honestly, I think that sometimes for humans, like writing is thinking. So as you're typing out your question to it, you're actually clarifying your thinking. Like when you're typing out like, how would an attacker go about, getting into this function? Like you're clarifying your thinking, and then obviously it's going to clean up things for you as it goes out and looks for, as it greps for like what actual places that function's called, for example. But it's like clarifying your thinking while also serving you data, while also ideating with you.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah, I've been specifically two bugs.
Well, I was gonna say two nice takeaway. One high crit. That's it on this repo.
Nice.
But I had two specific takeaways. You want to make a comment before I drop?
No, mine's a nice next topic. So
transition.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here are my two takeaways that I'm going to make sure that I integrate into my prompting for future SDK or Whitebox analysis. Okay. One, have it look at the tests. Right. If you have a full code base and you're not just throwing it at like minified JavaScript, look at the test files that are in there and like have it look at all the test files and say, are there any tests that are validating a security control in here? Right.
That's cool. Yeah.
And then, then that points you directly to the single point of failure.
What they care about. Yeah.
For the security control. Right. So that's a good one. And then the other one that I had it do, which helped me uncover the vulnerability, was look at where security controls are implemented and then look at similar or adjacent functions that might be missing that same control. Right. And it got me very, very close to the vulnerability. So
nice.
Cool stuff.
Yeah, that's legit. Yeah. So basically I've been using for the last few days, Claude Code for doing basically AI safety kind of like research. OpenAI. Actually, this is just a topic for the pod. So I'll just bring this up. I think AI safety programs are like kind of neat if you are into the AI stuff. And they're paying pretty well. So, Anthropic will pay up to like $35,000 for a universal transferable jailbreak. OpenAI will now pay the same, but what?
I'm sorry, say that again. $35,000 for what?
A transferable jailbreak. So if you put in like any question and it will answer them, they'll pay $35,000.
No way.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, on their bug bounty program. I thought I'd mentioned this to you before. Yeah.
No, dude, I did not know that was like that high stakes for that. I thought that this was still like an unsolved problem. Like you just
it is an unsolved problem. So they put some parameters around it, of course. Like they have very specific questions that they expect you to get an answer to, and they're like CBRN biowarfare related questions. So they're like,
oh really?
And you have to put them in either word for word or like you can technically have code that will do like a string transform for like synonyms or something, but you can't like completely change the question in like whatever way you want to. So you like slowly lead it to the answer by like complete happenstance. Like it still has to be like,
sure.
A user is like relatively asking a dangerous question.
My grandmother's dying and this is what I need to know to save her.
Yeah. I mean, so everyone has tried all of those things. It's like getting very safe and very difficult to bypass it. I actually don't know if there have been any. So just shout out to their program. They're really amazing. I actually got a transferable full jailbreak and it turned out they had like turned off a part of their protection classifiers and not told any of the bug hunters. And so I just happened to test it during that perfect window. They still paid me.
No way.
they still paid the full bounty. So like
that's
huge kudos to them. You should definitely go check out their program. So OpenAI historically has never paid for safety issues. I think hopefully Anthropic has put on that pressure through their program. So you have to still go apply for both of these, but they accept most people. But OpenAI recently opened up their bio bounty and it's the same thing. I think they're only going to pay the first full jailbreak at $35K and then the other ones pay less. So it's a little different. But I've been using Claude Code to kind of
freaking unbelievable bounty though.
Yeah, I mean, it allows you to invest a ton of time, right, and resources and like effort and collaboration. Even like splitting that still makes it really worth it if multiple people are involved. Okay, and then third program here I'm going to mention, they released a Kaggle bounty for their open source models, which is really cool because I'm sure that a lot of our listeners.
What the heck's a Kaggle bounty?
So Kaggle.com is a website where like secure or AI researchers post like, I don't know, research competitions. And I think there's often like prompt injection stuff on there.
Okay. I see it. Nice.
Yeah. It's just like an AI kind of like benchmark model data set. It's like a very data sciencey website. And so then they have one, if you Google Kaggle, OpenAI, open source red teaming challenge or something, it's a $500,000 challenge where they're picking 10 winners. Now the listeners are not going to get this in time. It ends in 2 days. So, but I do want to tell them about this because it's really cool because I've been using Claude Code to basically do this testing with me. And I think it applies to bug bounty and AI safety in the same way. So what I did was, one, it's really cool to be able to run this open source model locally and through my testing, I've realized how good this thing is. So it's actually pretty dang safe. Like it's pretty hard to jailbreak or prompt inject.
Wow.
And it's really good at tool calling. And
this is the one that this is their open source one that they released.
Yeah, so they released two, 120 billion parameter model and a 20 billion parameter model. And they're both mixture of experts. So they use far less RAM than that, right? They're only activating like a sixth or an eighth of the total network. So like normally a 20B model would take like 20 gig of RAM. But where this 20B model uses mixture of experts and only uses a subset of those of the model weights, cool. It can run on like 6 gig of RAM or 7 gig of RAM. So it's pretty nice. And so the 20B model is used for this challenge, and the goal is to basically showcase some sort of like novel harm. And so like they're looking for all kinds of unique stuff. We can link it in the show notes, but like they're looking for like biases or like prompt injection stuff, or like can you get it to recommend like health things or therapist things that are harmful. Like, could you convince, could you have a prompt where it would like suggest someone commit suicide? Like these things.
Have you tried cocaine?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anything like that would be harmful. Anyways, so I've been using Claude Code to both ideate, write the scripts, run it, because it's literally running on my machine, to test it and analyze the output. And so like I'm using, this agentic wrapper to do the full thing locally, and it's working really well. It's really cool. I've got some findings.
GPUs, man.
Well, yeah, it just runs on my Apple Silicon, which is like quiet and fast and stuff, which is pretty neat. Gosh. But I think people should. This is actually, as I've been playing with it, I think if you can write a really strong system prompt, this is the first model that people could use locally for totally free. Basically, of course, you're using your GPU or your M series Mac, but and actually get like genuinely helpful results from a local model and actually have tool calling. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be amazing. But I think it's the first model that could potentially, actually Ronnie Lupin, everybody knows them. I was going to
say, yeah.
He's using it. He was able to go from like, I'm gonna look up our messages really quickly.
Because he sent something pretty crazy in our group chat. He was like saying he utilized this for some part of his product or something like that, and was getting some really good results from it.
Exactly. Yes, that's what I was going to call out. He and I started DMing about it. He was able to go from Gemini 2.5 Pro. So for anyone who doesn't know, obviously top hacker Lupin. He's been on the show many times, but he has a product called Depi that does like, what's it called?
Supply chain.
Supply chain attacks, and it uses AI in a bunch of different ways. He moved the AI autofix feature from Gemini 2.5 Pro all the way down to GPT open source 20B, and it works even better, he said. So anyways, if people are building cool stuff, they should definitely try it out.
Wow, dude. That is pretty exciting for security people, because having an offline model is really important for stuff. So maybe we'll work on integrating some of that stuff into Kaido as well.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Crazy. I know we spend a lot of time talking about AI stuff nowadays, but like it is very important that we do that, because there's a lot of crazy stuff happening and there's a massive shift going on. So yeah, I think it's important. But with that, I will jump to my next favorite topic, which is CSPTs.
Yep.
So let me go ahead and share this. Let me go ahead and share this article really quickly here. This is an article entitled "Cache Deception plus CSPT," which actually should be CSPT plus cache deception, but it is what it is. And this is by Zire. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I've seen some great stuff coming out of this researcher. And essentially, this is just a nice little write-up here, explaining how he was able to exploit a cache deception that was seemingly impossible to exploit because it requires a token, using a CSPT. Okay, so here's the little. Let's see, where's the actual little graph here? Okay, here it is, right here. So the attacker sends to the victim, a CSPT, which forces the victim, which hijacks a fetch request that it contains their, session and their CSRF token automatically added by whatever, JS middleware they had, in the client side there. And then an authenticated request is sent to the backend. The data, and this authenticated request now ends with .css, right? So because he was able to fully control the path. So he's able to invoke the cache deception, utilizing the CSPT. And then when it comes back from the server, that's getting cached at the CDN level, because it's actually got the valid values now that the CSRF token is included, cached at the CDN level. and then the attacker can go then retrieve that. So I just thought this was a really creative
dude. That's amazing.
use of CSPT. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, and so those cache exceptions that are out there where you can get values cached, but you have to have something in the request that you can't send. Those might be exploitable if you can chain it with CSPT. So really great finding here by Zira.
That feels to me like kind of the next level of, I mean, this is maybe a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like the fact that bugs get more and more esoteric over time means the industry is actually getting more secure over time, right? Like you have to jump through more hoops. Maybe you don't agree. I saw your skepticism, but like I just feel like the fact that things like CSPT are being like found and used and exploited by bug hunters, I think it like really shouts to the fact that like there's less low hanging fruit than there was in the past. And I think that it's neat, like just so cool that it ends up resulting in extreme creativity, basically from researchers to come up with really cool stuff like this. Like you said, it was a cache deception that was not really that exploitable. And then now you found a way to make the victim cache it for you. It's just super cool.
Yeah, super, super solid finding. I do agree. And I think CSPT is, I guess, how common CSPT is becoming because of the need for this is largely born from the fact that same-site cookies are messing up a bunch of other client-side bugs. Mm-hmm. And CSPT, allows you to trigger requests and get things like CSRF from the same site, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that you're right. I think it is an evolution in client-side security that's pushing us to find these more complex attack types. And to be honest, it's been great to see because I freaking love chains. So
yeah, exactly.
He also calls out, Jorge is the guy that wrote this, Jorge da Costa. And he also calls out 3 resources: Matan Bear's excellent introduction to CSPT, his CSPT talk in Spanish, and a CSPT presentation by Maxence Schmidt. So those are also some great resources if you're not already up to date on CSPT. And cache deception is like pretty well documented. I think there's some good stuff out there for that. So
yeah.
All
Sweet.
right. Where do we want to go next, man?
The question is, Slice is a little AI related. Let's just mention 5 real quick.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is such a funny thing. Go for it.
I'm trying to think about the best way to share it. Let me see if I can go to the pod maybe.
They'll put it up on the screen.
All right, cool. Yeah. So put it up on the screen. Basically, there is a researcher who has been doing lots of really cool stuff on Microsoft's bug bounty program. He's up and coming. He is very young, only has a few bugs under his belt. But me and Justin and a few other guys all get DMs from him because he gets so excited about it. He like immediately like messages us with cool findings. But he sent me this message on Discord that just screams bug bounty passion. And it's like, if you could invest in this guy, you should invest a ton of money because he's definitely going to make it. He tweeted, or sorry, he DM'd me on Discord. Yo, man, I just figured out a sick method. Whenever my power goes out, I can still find tons of bugs from the JS files downloaded locally on my laptop. AKA, he's thinking whenever there's a hurricane that makes him unable to hack, he's not going to stop hacking. He's just going to get out his computer and start analyzing the JavaScript.
And start raw dogging the JS files that he has on his local system. Dude, yeah, this guy has been finding some really, really awesome stuff. And I think there's, I don't know if he's released the article yet that he sent me, but he's got some really good articles coming out. Yeah, so it's EFAAV on X. Definitely give him a follow. But this, like you said, man, is like very high signal, like bug bounty addict for sure.
Yeah, completely addicted to bug hunting, which is exactly what leads to success. So
yeah, man, yeah, you love to see it. This is why bug bounty gets so great results, in my opinion. Is like this is what it does to people.
Yep.
Is it gets you like this where you're just like, oh, well, I could still read I have done this before 100%. Like I was on a flight.
You're on a plane?
Yep. Yeah. On a flight. Like the internet is crap. It keeps dropping. I'm not getting productive. And you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to take these JS files, format them, and just like really dive deep on them.
Speaking of things you can do on a flight.
Oh, dude.
I just shared this with Justin before the call. So I'll let him talk about it.
I lost my mind when you showed me this. This is so cool. Okay. All right. I'll take it. So
yeah.
freaking Rezo drops this in the doc right before this episode, and I just got totally nerd sniped by it, and we're starting like 15 minutes late because I was like, this is amazing. This is I guess I'll share this tweet on the screen. This is a service that I guess was put out by a AI company. Can you find the name of that AI company while I'm yapping about it, Joseph?
Yeah.
But essentially you can communicate with an LLM via Dig. So you can do it on like a plane, and just, typically there's DNS pass through on a plane. And so you can just dig at ch.at, which is like also an S tier domain.
So
I don't
cool.
know how they're using this for that, but dig at ch.at, and then just put in double quotes, what is whatever your query is, and then make sure you specify the TXT type, DNS type, and then it will just over DNS kick back a TXT record to your dig with the response from the LLM, dude.
So freaking cool. Yeah. So it's a company called Deep AI. And in fact, if you go to ch.at, apparently it's available via SSH and curl as well. But the coolest one by far is Dig, chatting over DNS text records.
Wow, dude. Yeah, look at that. Curl, SSH, and Dig. No logs, no accounts, free software.
Yep. It feels like something a hacker would build. Obviously, these guys are, AI or probably just devs, but it feels like something that somebody in the hacker community would build. So it's really cool.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm totally going to use this on a plane. This is extremely, extremely cool. Thank you for showing me this. I really did lose it when you showed it to me. I was like,
there are just some projects like terminal.sh, SSH, where you can like buy coffee over SSH. There are just some things that like the idea itself is so clever and cool that even if you don't use it or it's not that beneficial, it's just like, yes, hackers did that. It's like, find some way to do that,
Yeah. I love Termbin too. Have you ever used Termbin?
I don't think
it's like
so.
Pastebin, but you can just do it directly from your terminal. So you just cat something, pipe it to Termbin 999, and then it just it like gives you a link where you can share it to your friends. So
that's really cool. I need to start using that.
Yeah, it's very good.
But a decent transition into tools if we want to talk about Search Cyber.
Oh yeah. This was awesome. They released this at okay, so let me back up. This is tools by Searchlight Cyber. Searchlight Cyber is the Asset Note squad, right? They got acquired. And they released this Searchlight Cyber tools that has that is their website that is a conglomerate of all the tools that Asset Note has sort of released over the past, however long they've been absolutely crushing it. And I think that there are a couple on here that are much better for beginners, right? Like the subdomain takeover scanner and even Surf. I feel like I would do what Surf does there a little bit. I would do it more efficiently on a command line with like even just tools that I've got in a normal Unix box. But Newtowner and NoWAF Please are two tools that are built into the Searchlight Cyber website now that they've got that are super helpful. Specifically Newtowner, so I don't have to like configure my AWS credentials, spin up a bunch of stuff in different regions of the world. I just give it a URL and it tries it from 7 different regions or whatever. That is extremely helpful.
Yeah, it's basically hosted versions of all their tools, and the website is tools.slcyber.io.
Yeah. The other one on here is NoWAF Please, which is the tool that they released, I think, at NHOMCon 2024, that allows you to bypass WAFs by inflating the request size. There is both a burp and a Kaido extension for NoWAF Please, but if you want to just paste the raw HTTP request into the Searchlight Cyber website, it will automatically inflate the size of that request for you, and you could just paste it back into your proxy and resend it to see if that gets around the WAF as well. So kind of like a quick and dirty method if you're doing something where you're not access to your normal security tools.
Yeah, and obviously their word lists are lots of other places, but you can get them here, which is kind of cool in case you just have this pulled up, for example, because you want to, just have a bunch of tools in one place.
Yeah, I was actually watching Michael's presentation when he released this. I think they actually did a bunch of stuff to the word lists as well. It's not just like download their normal word list. They They created a way for you to like sync down the like new word list changes. And I wish I just thought of it now when you mentioned word list.
Yeah, that's really cool. Let me open that back up.
But I didn't get to fully like check it out before the episode. So there's definitely some changes to the asset note word lists that they now got on the Searchlight Cyber website. And I think that's probably, I think Michael said that is one of their most used things is their word list because they're just like super S tier.
Yeah.
Definitely worth investigating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet, dude.
All right. Let's see what we got left here.
Yeah. So we have what's it called? Slice. Yeah. We have Slice, and then we have Ebka, which are both kind of AI related. And then you have your Bug Bounty Hunters report, which is not AI related.
Okay. Why don't you take Slice and I'll take a look at the Bug Bounty report real quick.
Okay, sweet. So Caleb Gross, our friend who lives relatively close to our friend Justin and is a top hacker. He's like a legit guy. He is a good friend of ours, and he released a tool called Slice, which is basically a tool that does like has an LLM, but also static analysis of code. So it does like SAS scanning. Honestly, we should have talked about it right after we talked about what you did with Gemini CLI, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely relevant.
Did you try this at all? Did you try to run any kind of CodeQL queries across your SDK?
So that's the situation with this. Like, I think this is a super amazing tool. I am not as comfortable with CodeQL and
same.
Creating those patterns. And I think in the specific language that I was working with, there just wasn't as intuitive patterns for these sort of things. So I think this is really good for, creating, I think the example that he used was like a C code base or something like that, where there's like really nice patterns for specific types of vulnerabilities. But it essentially takes a CodeQL query, filters the results, and then ranks them by criticality. So it's got like those pieces of, I think there's 4 pieces: parse, query, filter, and rank. And it seems pretty built out in order to accomplish that exact workflow. CodeQL, and then using LLM to sort of sort and evaluate them. Very high value, I think, for C code bases, at least.
Yeah, I think in general, the idea of like what he basically did, in case anyone's curious, is AI had found this vulnerability based on this other write-up, but it found it, some guy used AI to find a vulnerability, but it found it like 1 in 100 times or something. And I think he was curious, like, can we make this more reproducible? Can we make this better? And I think reverse engineering from that way is like a really powerful mental model. And so then he was able to eventually, get Slice to like find it much more consistently. You can see here.
Across 10 times, it found the bug every time. It says above the table. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking that it might show like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 here, but I couldn't find it in that. Obviously, different models are going to do better and worse, but they're going to cost more and less. And of course, obviously there's non-determinism, but I think that this is extremely cool. And honestly, I think I'm sure there already something exists out there that is, that does, this is his blog, by the way. So it's both on his blog, and then of course it's on the tool is on GitHub. But I think that, what was I going to say?
I'm not sure, but this vulnerability that it discovered was CVE 2025-37778, which is the Linux kernel SMB vulnerability that came out recently. So it is attacking a lower level code base here, which is really cool to see. And I know that he uses GPT-5 in the write-up, and I think Expo also noted that they saw just a massive increase in functionality when they started using GPT-5. So I think that could be something really big for AI as applied to security, is just making sure you're using GPT-5 and just tanking the cost that it takes right now. Yeah,
I will say the thing I remembered, well, I'll comment on GPT-5, then I'll go back to what I remembered. For GPT-5, you do have to use thinking, and then obviously the higher cost of thinking, like the more thinking is like even better, and GPT-5 Pro is insane, but it gets pretty expensive. The thing that I remembered was I was going to say that I'm sure there are some CodeQL, like text to CodeQL things out there already, but something like this that's like more dynamic and more kind of security aware and intelligent with like really good system prompting, I think has the ability to find like bugs kind of at scale if you run CodeQL across GitHub. I don't know what happened to that old program. I don't think it exists anymore, where they used to pay for like really good CodeQL queries and stuff. But kind of a neat idea for finding bugs at scale, especially if you don't even care about bug bounty. You just want to find some cool CVEs or some cool vulnerabilities. It's a great path to take.
For sure. Yeah, I don't know what happened to that program. That is.
I think I remember it shutting down, but I don't know why.
Dude, they also shut down Google's mobile program. No, the mobile program where like every app above 100 million installs was in scope.
Oh, they took that out?
Yeah, I was bummed because my girls had like this app that they were playing and it has a ton of installs, and I was like, what if I just, don't mind if I do take a look, and I was and win some reputation points with the kiddos. Yeah. But now I'm not allowed to do that. So
lame. Sweet dude.
Yeah. Definitely cool to see these tools pop up. I think Caleb's been working on this sort of thing for a while now, and I think he's got a good workflow going now. And this is definitely I think he's got a cool niche here too, which is reverse engineering CVEs that come out very, very quickly. It's very relevant to what he does, but just a very awesome tool. And I think a lot of recon boys could benefit from this, or maybe like a recon boy and a CVE reverser pair up. And say, okay, you reverse the CVE, you pass me the POC, and then I'll spray it. And then I think you could really make a good amount of money off of just like, for both of them, off of just that little combo there.
Yeah.
All right. So the other thing that we had on here was Slunzer, who we talk about on the pod all the time, released a Kaido plugin called Ebka, which is an AI plugin for Kaido. And it seems to have a ton of functionality. He was very thorough in implementing all of the different pieces of Kaido. And essentially what it allows you to do is just control Kaido from inside of Claude Code or via, I think he also has like an interface built directly to Kaido, right?
Yeah. So I'll share my screen. Well, if it'll let me.
Go for it.
Yeah. Screen, window.
We gotta. I definitely think we should continue sharing screen, but we also got to make sure that we are
still articulating it. That's true for the audio listeners. In audio, so basically, I'm sharing Kaido, and so there's like the little model selector up here, and this may have improved. I haven't installed it in a few days, but cool. Basically, you have the tab for the what's it called, for the plugin, and then you can basically say something like, are there any analytics requests in my HTTP history? If so, make a filter for them. So like cool. Like this is a bunch of different tool calling, of course, like, right. It's like checking your history, finding things, doing some sort of search, coming back, then like, automatically making the filter and then doing all of that kind of one shot. So like right now, so the tool calls he's having it use are like list by HTTPQL and then view request by ID and then create filter preset. And so the way it kind of works in like a chaining way, like that's like pretty powerful. And so I think that it probably has a lot of cool use cases. I think we should, try to integrate this or at least, build something similar into Shift, but really neat.
Yeah, I think Shift, Shift was kind of like it has some of these features, right? Where you can utilize AI to interact with the Kaido interface. But it's a lot less iterative, like you said, right? It's just kind of like, okay, build a filter for this. Oh, wow. That was quite a filter that it generated there. That's very long.
And these are all just like request.contain. So of course, it's all about how you use the AI. This usually blocks way too much when I try this little POC. And I haven't found like another great use case, but I only use this for like an hour or something. I didn't spend a lot of time. I think there are probably some really great use cases, like find requests that look like this and then send them to replay for me or whatever. So like, could you imagine it going and finding all the requests that you would have found interesting and putting them in replay for you? So then you can go review them. Like there's probably some really cool stuff here like that,
Yeah, I like the nature, the more traditional MCP nature, right? Like Shift was kind of right on the edge of like MCP. when it was first coming out. So we didn't fully implement that, but he's got that in place here, and you can kind of keep that same context and ask follow-up questions, and it's sort of built around that whole tool calling structure. So I know Slunzer is really committed to the code base as well. He's like, he's committed to the code base quite a few times, one might say, but he's committed to the code base. Like, he's making updates to it. He's using it actively himself. So I definitely expect for this to continue to improve. And I think he's using it not directly within Kaido, though. I think he's hooking it into like Claude or Claude Desktop, right?
Yep. Yeah. Because it's MCP based, you don't have to call it right. You don't have to use the plugin, which is really neat.
Yeah. That is
which
nice.
Actually means, back to our idea earlier about like using kind of Claude as just like a general assistant, which I will do often. We didn't really expand out that full section. Let me just circle back to that for just a second. So not only can you use it for like researchy stuff and SDK stuff like you're talking about, because you have full control over these system prompts and commands, you can also have it like manage your to-do list and like help you like prioritize what you're going to work on for the day. And it can also, if you have like good context in files. So one thing that Daniel does and that I'm trying to add more of is like having like context files for like, hey, here's what I'm passionate about. Here's what I'm working on. Here's what my family's like, whatever. So that it can pull that in dynamically if it needs to, as a part of like writing some content or writing a blog or whatever. But
making a decision.
Yeah, exactly. But because it also has access to MCP, you could in that same interface basically just have a terminal up. And so if you are kind of like hacking on the command line and then you're like having it write scripts for you, and then you can even say things like, yeah, there was a request in Kaido that had this kind of path. Use the Kaido MCP to then like, pull up that path and then incorporate it. And so that'd be pretty neat to like also give your assistant kind of access to Kaido. So now you have like an AI assistant who's doing all of those things, but also has access to Kaido. So.
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of, it's hard for me to understand right now, what is the right thing to modify my workflow with, because I feel like I can get lost in AI land for a while, and I think what are the AI things that I can implement today that are going to give me the highest ROI and make me a more efficient hacker right now? And I think from my experimentation lately, it is outsourcing these small tasks with like shift agents or whatever, like, hey, fuzz this for, open redirect or whatever. And then, this piece of essentially allowing Claude Code or Gemini CLI or whatever to slurp up a whole repo and now let me like get a mental model of the security posture of that repo very quickly, I think just really, really helps me get into the meat of hacking a little bit more quickly. So, obviously there's always going to be hack bots that are like doing crazy things, but I think these are really helpful for me.
Yeah, I think that the best mental model for how and where and when to use them, and obviously you can't always know this without experimentation, but it's just like, don't invest a ton of time. Like, don't spend 3 weeks, incorporating a bunch of stuff into this thing or whatever, because like it might go obsolete or it might not be as beneficial to you, or it might be too much of a time sink. Like anywhere that you can get kind of like quick wins to like just speed up your current workflow is where you should try to integrate it, I think.
Yeah. And that's the thing I like about the source code review agent thing too, is like I can spend a little bit of time in there investing in like prompts and refining my prompts for that. And I feel like that's not ever going to be a sunk cost, because even if it's not Gemini CLI that I'm using, I'm going to be using Claude or something. Right. And those prompts themselves have value as I continue to refine them for what I want personally out of an AI assistant. And then eventually these things are just going to get better and better and better at giving me what I'm looking for, which is what's described by the prompt, right?
But yeah, you're right. You can just copy and paste that like, hey, do this research or do this scaffolding prompt over into a different system. And like you said, I don't think it's sunk cost for code review, like with SDKs, because that is already such a time intensive task that you would have had to do. So you have the extra, bandwidth there at the beginning to put a little bit of sunk cost into it, because it's saving you so much time on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. This code base that I was reviewing was pretty small, but I'm very confident that I got.
Would you have found it? That like, or how long, like that? I feel like that's the real question, is like, how long would it have taken you to found it? Would you have found it? Would you have not? Would you have not even been interested in the program if you not had the ability to use AI to help with it?
I certainly would have found it. It would have taken a lot longer. I probably would have had to sync. I probably condensed my knowledge, like getting knowledge of the application, into like 30 minutes to an hour
Yeah.
and getting comfortable with the code base, right? I still spend a good amount of time reading through documentation and stuff like that. But I will spend, normally 4 or 5 hours kind of just feeling groovy with the code base.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez. Do not do anything with that little dance, feeling groovy with the code base.
You just love these relationship analogies. Solanger's really committed to his thing, We got to get intimate, get groovy, snuggler.
But it takes time to get, intimate with the code base. And I think this really expedited that. So
cool.
Right, cool.
Sweet.
Is that a wrap? Did we have anything else we wanted to hit here?
I mean, you've mentioned Gemini CLI like 15 times. You got to talk about this postMessage target origin bypass.
Okay. All right. Okay. This is not specifically, I will talk about this. This is for Code Assist for Google. This is a Google VRP write-up that was publicized. That was, what am I trying to say? Disclosed. There we go. And it was paid $20K. Researcher is Jacob Domaraki. And I just wanted to like put this out there for any of you guys that are intimidated by hacking Google, because I just don't feel like this was that super insane of a bug. Like this, and
there you go, Jacob. That's what Justin thinks about your bug.
No, Jacob, dude, that's not what I'm trying to say. Like, it's an amazing bug. I'm so like, you crushed it, but this is not like some of the other crazy shit.
Orange size research, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of the things I like about this write-up, Jacob did an excellent job with, is he shows the train of thought too. He's like, okay, so here's how you link GitLab to Gemini Code Assist tools. Okay. And then here's the OAuth flow. And you'll notice in the state parameter, there's like this JSON blob. Very reasonable thought, right? That's not like a super crazy, mega Google client-side hacker necessary thought, right? It's like, yeah, okay, let's see what that does. And he says, as it turns out, the redirect URI page for this uses the value of the origin key passed in from that state parameter to verify the postMessage target origin. And so it shows the code snippet, and essentially it just parses the state, grabs the origin, and then does origin.ends with.
Is that JavaScript? Like he can just see that, right? Straight on the /direct page, right?
Say it again.
Like that's like client side code that you can go find. That's not like a server side check.
No. He just found it on the client side.
Cool.
And so essentially, he's this allows him to bypass the whole flow here, and with just using attacker.com/codeassist.google.com.
Yeah.
And so he's able to do some really awesome stuff with this. But I just wanted to encourage you guys and leak the OAuth code, because this is like the kind of stuff that is there. You just got to look for it. And it's a lot more common even in Google right now because of how fast everything is going. And Jacob did an excellent job of, having that requisite knowledge and then jumping right on this as Code Assist is getting released and as being devved on constantly, and snagging up a super nice 20K bug from Google for this report. So pretty sick.
Sweet, dude. Yeah. I think that is mostly it. We'll save some of these other little smaller ones for next week, maybe.
Sweet. Yeah, sounds good, dude. It feels good to be back on the pod. It's been like 3 weeks for us, right? Because we recorded a ton before DEF CON. Yeah,
we recorded a lot. We did a whole bunch of solo episodes, so it's the first time we've been on the call together for a while.
Thanks, man. Good to talk with you, man. All right, that's a wrap. Peace. And that's a wrap on this episode of Critical Thinking. Thanks so much for watching to the end, y'all. If you want more Critical Thinking content, or if you want to support the show, head over to ctbb.show/discord. You can hop in the community. There's lots of great high-level hacking discussion happening there, on top of masterclasses, hack-alongs, exclusive content, and a full-time Hunters Guild if you're a full-time hunter. It's a great time, trust me. All right, I'll see you there.